Hi there, Smart Drivers. Rick with Smart Drive Test talking to you tonight about driving stories, driving fun. So first and foremost, where are people from and what kind of license are you going for? Are you going for a car license or are you going for a CDL license, truck or bus? And if you're going for a CDL license, truck or bus, what are your aspirations for starting a driving career? Do you want to work for Greyhound? Do you want to work for a transit company? Do you want to work for local charity organizations, school buses, Boy Scouts, those types of things, driving buses? Or you want to drive big truck? You want to run regional, long haul, those types of things. So tonight we're going to talk about all of that, answer any questions that you have about passing a road test. We're also going to answer questions about favorite roads, favorite drives, what kind of vehicle you like to drive, and what was your best destination in terms of driving a motor vehicle, whether you're on holidays with the family and those types of things. We just had Canadian Thanksgiving here in Canada in November. In 3 weeks, I believe, they're having the American Thanksgiving, and they'll be traveling down there around and taking long trips to be with family and those types of things. And of course, Christmas is coming up in about 70 days, I think. So, Mr. Smile. So, let's see, who's here tonight? Jericho Arroyo. Let's see if I said that right, Sam. I've been practicing. That is Sam. Sam is with Auto Rookie Driving School in the Bronx, there in the great city of New York. And he teaches driving. He's a driving instructor and teaches driving there in Bronx. So if you have any questions, you can direct those to Sam as well. And there are some differences between tests conducted by the DMV and here in Canada. We have a bunch of different organizations depending on which province you're in, the authorities that conduct road tests. So, Mr. Smile asks, my steering wheel gets harder to steer. When does your steering wheel get harder to steer, Mr. Smile? Oscar, how do you turn hand over hand in terms of the steering wheel? Simply turn one hand like this and the other hand over, and then pull again, and then push over. So it's hand over hand like that. Look at that, I got it, Sam. I was practicing while I was wandering around the house here before I got started. So, Christopher, watching live from Washington State. Awesome. Turning hand over hand. Yes, that's what you're talking about. Seth is from Toronto. George, hello. Maximum speed in a residential area. George, am I saying your name right? I do apologize if I'm not. Maximum speed limit in residential areas and in urban areas is 50 kilometers an hour unless otherwise posted. For our friends in the south, it is 30 miles an hour. And on highways, 80 kilometers an hour unless otherwise posted, or 50 miles an hour in the States unless otherwise posted. Luda, please explain when we are turning to left or right how to manage between speed and the brake pedal. Okay, Luda, what you need to do is you need to slow down before the turn. So you need to get your speed before you start making the turn. And if, where did you say you're from? You're from New York, yes. And you're going to get snow every once in a while there, Luda. So what you need to do, you need to slow down, use the brake pedal first, and then manipulate the steering wheel. So those two pieces need to be separate actions. So for you there in New York City, New York State or New York City, I don't know which. You need to slow down for a right-hand turn between 10 and 12 miles per hour, and for left-hand turn it's going to vary between sort of 12 and 20 miles an hour for you in the States, depending on the configuration of the intersection and turning left or right. So there you go, that's it. Yes, Corey. The DMV, the Department of Motor Vehicles, is nationwide across the United States. In every state that you will have a Department of Motor Vehicles. It is run by the state, but it's a federal, like it's nationwide. It's all the same. Okay? Kyle, at what age did you realize all the proper techniques and master all these? Kyle, I haven't mastered all these techniques yet. I still make mistakes when I'm driving, but you know, I probably got a lot better at becoming a driver and mastering techniques when I became a driving instructor, because when I became a driving instructor, I'm one of those people that I just can't sort of learn what I need to learn out of the course. I need to continually learn. And I'll tell you, Kyle, that I have learned a lot doing this YouTube channel. A lot. I am always learning. People are asking me questions, and I'm always trying to figure out how to explain it better. So I haven't really mastered it all, but when did I become a driving instructor? I became a driving instructor in 1997. So probably through the first bit of the 2000s, I became better, because I had been a truck driver for a long time. And then I became a bus driver for Greyhound in Australia for a year before I went to graduate school at university. And that was when I really learned. So like I said, this is it. Okay, George in English. Gorge. Now, did I say that right? Gorge. I probably didn't say it. I'll look it up and I will practice, because you I'll just call you George for now, and I'll practice it for next week, because I know you've been on the channel before, and I do apologize for that. Upstate New York, took my test last Tuesday, passed first time, no points taken off. I want to thank you so much. I couldn't have done it without you. Thank you, Raquel. That is a very lovely compliment, and I'm really happy that you passed first time. That's great. McKay, I passed my driving test. They didn't do half the stuff they were supposed to. That's even better. But better to be over-prepared for your road test and pass and all that. That's really great. Christopher, I appreciate the work for us. You are most welcome, Christopher. I'm really glad that I can help. Alici from Providence, Rhode Island. I take my test Tuesday. Some tips on staying centered in the lane. Yes, Alici, look farther down the road and look for landmarks that will help you to guide your vehicle. And most of the time, just looking at the other traffic is going to help you keep your vehicle centered in the road. Now, every once in a while, and I don't suggest you do this very often, but just if there is a fog line on the road, that's the solid white line on the right side of the vehicle. It should be just off the front corner of the vehicle. That's another way that you can just sort of every once in a while just check that. Okay? Tiffany, it's this. I will answer any question you have about driving, passing a road test. It's for passenger vehicles and it's for CDL driving. And actually, one of my expertise is air brakes. So if you have any questions about air brakes, you have any questions about CDL training, I can answer those questions for you as well, Tiffany. So any questions you have about driving, I can probably give you an answer. Or if I don't have an answer for you, I will look that up for you. All right. Seth, I'm holding an Ontario G license. If I want to drive to other provinces of Canada, do I need a permit? Thanks. No, you don't, Steph, or Seth, rather, sorry. You can drive any province in Canada and you're going to be fine. Okay, we're way down at the bottom now. Okay. Corey, are trucks unable to downshift from going down a hill? No, they're not. They can downshift, but it's not recommended, especially if they have a load on. Because what happens is it causes the brakes to overheat. I mean, you can apply the brakes really hard and slow the vehicle down and downshift, but for drivers that don't have a lot of experience, wouldn't be recommended for them. So it's generally better when you come down over crest over top of the hill, you're in the gear that you want to be in to go down the hill. Okay, and as well, engine brake technology, Jake brakes as they're commonly referred to, because the brand has become synonymous with what it's called. It's kind of like Kleenex, right? Kleenex is tissue. It's not. It's not. Kleenex is the brand. Tissue is what it is, right? So, okay. Let's see. Alicia, you are most welcome. Yes. Okay, Corey. I see what you were doing. You were watching the truck driving videos. Anila, how can we judge that we're ready for the test? Anila, what I recommend that you do is hire a driving school, hire a driving instructor, and take a mock road test 7 to 10 days before your road test, okay, when your road test appointment is. Now, the other point, my good friend Peter, who runs ABC Driving School here in Vernon, was telling me that you need to book 3 or 4 weeks in advance for that mock road test, because a lot of the driving schools are busy and booked up, and in order to get your mock road test 7 to 10 days before your road test, you need to book in well in advance, 3 to 4 weeks, to get that mock road test, because Driving instructors teach students how to pass a road test every day, and they will be able to give you all of the nuances for different driving authorities that are going to test you for the purposes of passing a road test. For example, hand over hand or hand to hand, whether you can open your palms and allow the steering wheel to correct itself, or whether you have to manipulate the steering wheel back. These are some of the minor points that I couldn't be able to give you for a specific driving authority. I can only give you information, general information, and show you the different techniques that are available, but you would need to go to a local driving instructor. That's the best way to determine whether you're ready for a road test or not. And as well, it has to do with a lot with your own self-confidence, whether you feel comfortable or not. But no, there is a huge difference between driving and being ready for a road test. Those two things are different animals, okay? So just know that. Kyle, have I ever been pulled over? Yes, I've been pulled over quite a number of times, especially when I was driving truck. So, yes, I've been pulled over. And there's a video here about being pulled over by police and what you need to do. And the first thing is, don't deny what you did. And when the officer pulls you over, never say, oh, hey, what's going on? No, I wasn't speeding, really. No, they know you were speeding, so don't deny what you did. I tried that one time. Well, I didn't deny what I did. I just asked the officer what the problem was when he pulled me over in Pennsylvania. And he started yelling in a very loud, booming voice. So, yeah, don't deny what you did. Biotech. Really appreciate all you do for us. I am hearing lots of road noise while driving at high speeds. Is it making me nervous? Is there any way to get rid of that? What kind of vehicle are you driving, Biotech? And how fast are you driving? Are you driving like 120, 130, which is 70 or 80 miles an hour? Is that what you're doing? Just answer those questions for me, and I'll be able to help you out there. All right, so tonight we're still answering questions about CDL training, and we're answering questions about how to pass a road test. But we're also going to talk about driving and driving stories and the reasons that we get our license, because we want to drive. We love to drive. Driving is empowering, and we get to go great places. We get to drive great vehicles, and we get to experience great destinations. And I have lots of people here on the channel that comment to me about the mountains and how beautiful it is here. And there was quite a bit of dash cam footage that I put in the video yesterday that I put up about driving in the fall and mountain driving. And just on that note of driving in the mountains, and now that it's fall, it's the middle of October now, know that in the morning particularly, and any time that the temperature is around freezing, there is a very high possibility that you're going to have ice on the roads. Now, most of the community and radio stations and, reporting agencies and those types of things, the Weather Network and whatnot, that's what I was trying to say, call it black ice. I do not subscribe to black ice. It's just ice. And just because you didn't know it was there doesn't mean that you cannot figure out that it is there, okay? As I said in the video, there are places along the roadway that there will be ice at high elevations, in low-lying areas, along bodies of water, in areas that lie in shadow, below buildings or mountains or those types of things. There will be ice. And as well, the first places that freeze along roadways are bridges and overpasses. So know that if you go out in the morning and the radio station says, hey, it's near freezing, know that it's probably going to be slippery and there's going to be ice that you're not going to be able to visually see on the roadway. But with that little bit of information, you're going to be able to locate ice on the roadway and stay out of trouble. And the other thing is that if you get on ice, if you come down the roadway and you go onto an overpass or a bridge and all of a sudden it's like, woo, it's a bit dicey on the steering wheel, the steering wheel kind of lets go, do not touch the brakes. Don't touch the brakes, don't touch the accelerator. Let your foot off the pedals and just light, deft touch on the steering wheel and look where you want to go, right? If it starts to fishtail or whatnot, look where you want to go and just hang on to that steering wheel, okay? So know that in terms of driving in the fall and driving on snow and ice, okay? Biotech, you're driving a Nissan Versa 2012 hatchback. I'm driving at 80 miles an hour. Well, Biotech, in your... your 2012 Nissan, there isn't anything I can do about the road noise at 80 miles an hour. Okay, you're good. you're gonna have road noise, and the faster you go, the more road noise there's going to be. My 20-year-old Honda has a fair bit of road noise at 120 kilometers an hour, which is about 75, 80 mile an hour. So, I mean, if you've got wind whistles and those types of things because the seals around the doors and whatnot are deteriorated, that's a possibility that you could have that fixed at a body shop and whatnot. But for the most part, know that the faster you're going, the more that the engine's roaring, the more that the wheels are trying to overcome friction and friction on the roadway, and all of that is going to create more road noise. So the higher the speed, the more road noise you're going to have, especially at 80 miles an hour. Corey, audiobooks. You also mentioned you don't have a newer car, so I wonder, how do you listen to audiobooks? What device? Oh, yeah, it's just, Corey, it's just my CD player. I have a CD player in the car, and you just go to the library, to your public library, and you can borrow audiobooks. And yeah, last week, one was a novel, and I find novels are really good because you can get really engrossed in them, and they just help to really pass the time because they're interesting. I mean, especially if you're listening to a Jack Reacher novel, right? So that's really quite good. So yeah, it's on a CD player. If you have an iPad that has Bluetooth that hooks into your stereo on your vehicle, I'm sure there's lots of podcasts and other audiobooks and those types of things. And for those of you on here, I don't suspect there's a lot of parents, but if you got parents, some of the audiobooks come in a kit where there's a book and it has a CD as well, and the kids can sit in the back seat with the book and they can look at the book, and the book is being read for them. So that's the other thing you can do as well. So Skull, good job. I need this device. I'm going to take my second test on Tuesday. Okay, Skull. So know that there's 4 fundamental components for a road test, regardless of where you take your road test, okay? Speed management, space management, observation, communication. Those are the 4 fundamentals of any road test. So speed management, posted speed limit, flow of traffic, whichever is less, okay? You're probably just taking a car license, so you don't have to worry about your vehicle not being able to go up a hill. So posted speed limit, flow of traffic, whichever is less. That's speed management. Space management. Don't get near other vehicles on the roadway, other road users, or fixed objects. Give ample space between them, okay? Your following distance between you and other vehicles has to be 2 to 3 seconds minimum under ideal conditions, okay? So that's space management. Stay away from other things and whatnot. If you're in the least bit doubt, cover the brake until you're past the hazardous situation, or simply stop. If the traffic situation becomes too complex and you can't handle it, simply stop the vehicle, wait for the traffic to clear, and then proceed. All right, and then observation, you have to be scanning the entire time that you're driving. You need to be looking far down the road, looking down at your instrument panel, looking far down the road, looking at the end of your hood, looking out to both shoulders of the road along the sidewalks and those types of things, scanning your center mirror, scanning your wing mirrors, back down the road, looking at your instrument panel. So just come up with that routine of a scanning pattern and then continually repeat that every 8 to 12 seconds. And then as well, every turn, every time you move the vehicle laterally, every lane change, you need to do minimum 2 shoulder checks, okay? So you have to shoulder check approximately half a block before the turn, and then you have to shoulder check immediately before the turn. And if a period of time passes before you make your turn or your lateral movement, then you might have to do another shoulder check just to make sure, okay? And your shoulder check, you're simply looking in the blind areas around your vehicle to ensure that there aren't other road users, bicycles, people on scooters, and pedestrians. Those are what you're looking for when you're shoulder checking. Arshia, I am in Vernon, British Columbia, Canada, which is on the west coast. It's about 4 hours due east of Vancouver, British Columbia is where I'm at. So I'm in the Okanagan Valley. Ron Cooper, good evening. I've just got my permit from the Bronx, New York City. What is the rules on having a permit? Ron, that is a perfect question for Sam, who's here. Sam could probably talk to that about you in terms of the rules on your driving permit. You are most welcome about that, Arshia. Skull, you're going to pass. You're going to pass, okay? Just breathe, visualize that you're going to pass, you're going to be successful, and all you have to do, remember, all you have to do on your road test is take away the examiner's right to fail you, okay? If you do that, they can't fail you. If you do everything right, or do everything mostly right, because know that it doesn't have to be perfect, right? Just do the best you can and be safe, keep it between the lines, and don't drive on the sidewalk for the purposes of your road test. Okay, Xenopop. Don't know if you can exactly answer this. If I use a stick shift, how could I smoothly accelerate out of the clutch? I'm afraid of messing up while going at a green light from a red. Xenopop, are you taking a road test in a manual transmission, and where in the world are you? I don't mean that sarcastically. I mean, where are you, so I can help you a little bit more in terms of where you are. Angie, on a shoulder check, do we have to do that within the city if turning at a stop sign? Absolutely, Angie. If you're Angie, are you going for a road test? Just let me know that, and I'll be able to answer that question for you. Johnny Boy, hello. I don't have a question. I just wanted to say thank you because of your advice and tips. I passed my road test the first time nearly 100%. That is awesome, Johnny. Thank you so much for your comment and for your compliment, and congratulations on getting nearly 100%. That is really awesome. I hope you had a really big celebration for that, because that is that's just really great. Ace, is not being able to lane change in time to do a turn for road test bad? All right, Ace, I can't speak to this specifically because I don't know the situation. However, if you feel uncomfortable and there's simply too much traffic for you to lane change in time, then abort the maneuver, okay? If you don't feel it's safe, don't do it. Simply abort the maneuver, because it's better to abort the maneuver and have the driving examiner bring you back around the block than it is to execute the maneuver and get into trouble and cram another car or cut another car off or force another vehicle to brake aggressively, because if you do that, that's an automatic fail, because that's considered a dangerous action on a road test. So if you feel that it's unsafe and you simply can't do it without cutting off other vehicles, then what I suggest is simply abort the turn. All right? All right. Okay, and Sam is answering Ron's question, which I really appreciate. Thank you so much, Sam. Any tips for parking? Yes. Triple F, what I suggest for parking is look at the video in the slow speed maneuvers playlist and practice with those 36-inch 1 meter tall pylons, and do some of the fundamentals in the parking lot or a closed circuit area first before you actually go out and start doing some of the maneuvers. That way you're going to have better control and an idea of how the car turns and its relationship in space and place, and all of that's going to help you out. Okay, so yeah, do that, and then do the simpler ones first. Don't start with parallel parking. Just try parking along a curb. Once you get good at that, then you're going to be better at parallel parking and those types of things. But you need to sort of understand the blind areas around your vehicle. I don't like calling them blind spots, because they're not spots. They're actually areas around your vehicle that you can't see when you're sitting in the driver's seat. So practice some of that first in a closed area, just backing up around corners and those types of things, because all of that will help you with the parking. And then again, make sure you have a look at the slow speed maneuvers playlist here on the Smart Drive Test channel, and all of that will give you specific information about how to park and do all of the specific maneuvers that you need for the purposes of a road test. Okay, you're in Washington. Okay, so Xenopop, so what I would suggest to you is, if you're in Washington State, I would really encourage you not to take your road test with a manual transmission. There is so much going on doing a road test, and there's so many nerves and other anxiety and just tension and stuff going on, that what I would suggest is that practice everything in your manual transmission, then maybe a week or 2 weeks before the road test, if you can get a hold of a vehicle that has an automatic transmission in it, then practice on that, do all the stuff, go through all of the stuff, and just go and do your road test in an automatic vehicle. And then after you're done, then come back and drive your manual transmission and have fun with it, because it's just like I said, there's just too much going on. That's my really strong counsel. So yeah, that's what I would encourage for you in terms of a road test. Now just let me know whether you have access to a vehicle with an automatic transmission or not. Hurrah! Thank you so much for the super chat there. That's awesome. Yes, I do. Hurrah. I do have one. It's called Speed Control, and I believe it's down in the description there for how to control the fuel pedal and how to control your speed. I think it's called Speed Control. Corey will be able to tell you here really quick. Corey is my go-to person. So, yeah. All right. Okay. So, so you're going to go back to the library, Corey, and see if you have CDs. Yeah, Corey, you want to know something? Actually, it was one of the audiobooks before I started the series about the Smart Drive Test channel here and whatnot. 18 months ago, almost 2 years ago now, I went back driving truck, and one of the books that I picked up was Increasing Financial Intelligence. I can't remember his name right now. It'll come to me in just a minute. The guy that wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Anyway, listen to that, and that was what got me started on the Smart Drive Test YouTube channel and my website and all of this online entrepreneurial stuff that I'm now pursuing. So they're really good and really great information and those types of things. So just know that audiobooks are great and really good for long road tests and those types of things. Okay, Mr. Smile, I was driving this morning and suddenly my steering wheel got stiff. Okay. Mr. Smile, I'm going to try and say this with a straight face. Your power steering pump probably went, or it's low on fluid. So the first thing you need to do is you need to go under the hood, look for the power steering fluid, check the power steering fluid level. If it's low, fill it up to the level that it needs to be. Just go to your local Canadian Tire or whatever the auto parts store is there where you live. Fill it up and then see if that works. If that doesn't work, then you might need to take it to a mechanic and get them to fix. Okay, Ron Cooper, I think Sam is answering your question. Angie, at an intersection with divider in between, do I have to observe the other driver cross the road from me, or do I have to observe who got to the stop sign first? Angie, I'm not quite sure what you're asking me in terms of the divider. I'm not following that. Can you reword that question for me, please? Steve, thank you so much for the compliment. That's really awesome. Okay, we're getting behind here. Okay, Xenopop. Yes, that's perfect. Okay, awesome that you can go to a driving school and use one of their vehicles. That would, yeah, Xenopop, I really recommend that you use an automatic. And then afterwards, just go and have fun with your manual transmission, because I drive a manual transmission. I think they're great. Kareem, thank you, sir, for valuable advice. If there is a validity for application we submit to MTO. Okay, so Kareem, so you got the exchange for your license? You have to do a road test though, do you? Okay, just answer that question for me. Faith, hi Faith. How do you know when to turn the steering wheel? Okay, Faith, the rear of the vehicle in front has to be a third to half the way down the hood. So it sort of depends. That's going to take a little bit of practice, but it's sort of half to third down the hood is when you know when to turn the steering wheel all the way to left to bring the front in. And it's going to seem a little weird the first couple of times you do it, because you're going to think that front end of the vehicle might actually come in and hit that car in front of you. But it's kind of, it's one of those things that takes a bit of practice, okay? Okay, NorCal, going to take my Class A test at California DMV this week. Excellent. Should be easy. Hope getting my learner's permit after all these viddies. Awesome. Excuse me. Pizza Man, I'm in the U.S. Someone told me I couldn't take rights on red lights. Okay, Pizza Man, are you in New York City? Because I do know for a fact in New York City you cannot turn right on a red light, but other places might be different. Okay, Kareem, you have more than 4 years of driving experience to go for my G road test, but I'm afraid I'm going... Okay, Kareem, what I suggest to you is to go to a local driving school and take a couple of driving lessons with a driving instructor if you can get in. I don't know how far away your road test is, but know that there's a difference between driving and passing a road test, and especially there in Ontario when you're taking a full G license. They expect everything to be pretty smooth and everything to be pretty spot on. So, you know, what I was talking about before in terms of the 4 fundamental components of a road test: speed management, space management, observation, and communication. All of those pieces have to be in place or you're not going to be successful on a road test. So I really encourage you to go and work with a local driving instructor, a driving school, and get them to give you some help to prepare for your road test. How far away is your road test, Kareem? Just let me know that. Okay, Russ, man, I'm taking behind the wheel tomorrow. I usually drive with 2 feet. What tips do you have? I can drive with 1, but I get anxious. Okay, Russ, man, I'm not a big advocate of 2 feet on the pedals unless you're driving a manual transmission. But for the purposes of your license, I would really encourage you to just be using your left foot for the brake and the throttle, okay? Because they're going to look at you a little bit weird, because what they're thinking is in terms of safety, okay? If you get 2 feet going at the same time, you're going to be doing a brake stand. And remember, road tests are about keeping full control of the vehicle, because what they want to see is that you have due care and control of the vehicle at all times. And one of those things is that you're using your right foot for the brake and the throttle, not your left foot. I'll reveal something to you very interesting. I am one of those people that I have a little bit of trouble with left and right because I didn't learn it as a little kid, and I got a job when I grew up telling people to go left and right. So there you go. All right. Thriller Island. Hi, Rick. My car pulls to the right a lot on highway speeds, but on regular streets it seems to be okay. What do you think is the problem? Thriller Island, you probably have a wheel alignment problem, or one of your wheels is out of balance. So you need to take it to a tire shop or a mechanic and get them to look at the alignment of the vehicle, or you need to get them to look at the balance of your tires. And I would strongly suggest that you do that anyway, because if it is pulling, it's going to prematurely wear your tires. In other words, your tires aren't going to last as long as they should. So I would suggest you take it to a tire shop and either get them to do a wheel alignment, or to get them to rotate the tires, or to balance the tires. It could be any one of those things, but a shop will be able to tell you that better than I can. All right. Okay. Sam, I had a student last Tuesday that was terrified of driving on the road. All she wanted to do was drive in a mall parking lot. We were in a parking lot for over an hour. Yes, Sam, I've been there. I once spent 40 minutes one day with a student opening and closing the rear doors of the semi-trailer. Yeah, so I know what you're talking about. And because I worked with students with brain injuries at the hospital during driver rehab, I've spent a lot of time with drivers in parking lots, especially post-crash victims who have a lot of anxiety and fear and did not get back in the vehicle after the crash, and suffer extreme anxiety about getting in the vehicle. And you just spend a lot of time in parking lots getting them to drive around and really trying to get them comfortable and trying them to relax. And yeah, exactly. Okay. Thriller Island, you are most welcome. Pizza Man, am I supposed to keep 2 feet at the pedals or 1? Pizza Man, you're supposed to keep 1 for the purposes of the road test, okay? Right foot controls the throttle and the brake, okay? 1 or the other. And the reason, the reason that I say that is because they want 1 pedal at a time. You're either braking or you're throttling. You're not doing both. And if you make a mistake or get nervous or you're anxious, or the situation becomes that you cannot deal with that situation, what they're thinking is that you may potentially get the 2 pedals confused, as some drivers have in the past and made drive-throughs in businesses that don't necessarily have drive-throughs. In other words, they drove through the building. All right. Okay. So Sam, the other thing I might, the other thing I usually do, Sam, with those people that have a lot of anxiety and a lot of fear and are wanting to stay in parking lots and those types of things, is try and calm them down. And then after you spend a fair bit of time in the parking lot with them, then just drive in straight lines or do right-hand turns with them. Don't do any left turns or try and stay in residential areas. But I'm probably not telling you anything you don't already know. You know, and try and stay to as much low-density traffic as you can. I don't know how, how viable that is there in the Bronx, but for me here in Vernon and other places that I've worked, there's generally pretty good residential areas that you can go into and do the work that you need to do and whatnot. So, yeah, that's another thing that is a potential. Okay, Faith, there's a lot of things to remember. What questions could they ask you pre-trip on the instrument panel? Okay, Faith, are you talking about the theory test, or are you talking about the practical road test and the mini pre-trip that they do before you go out for your license test? Just answer that. All right, so shifting into winter time. Yes, we had shift into winter 2 weeks ago here in British Columbia, where you have to have winter tires on your vehicle, and they're not winter tires per se as what we think of the big gnarly huge treads on tires for winter tires. Actually, I have a set of all season tires on my vehicle, and they have the snowflake on the side of the vehicle, on the sidewall of the tire rather, and they're rated for winter time, and they're actually really good tires because they're Michelin Defenders. I mean, I that's kind of my brand for tires on my vehicle. I just really like the way they handle and the way that they ride. So in terms of winter tires in a lot more jurisdictions, Quebec and British Columbia and whatnot, all of that are requiring winter tires on your vehicle as of a certain date. So in British Columbia here now, you have to have winter tires. So it's either M&S tires, mud and snow, or it's the snowflake symbol on the side of your tire. It's a little mountain symbol with a snowflake in it. Those are what are required for the purposes of your road test. Oh, okay. The mini pre-trip, pre-test on the driving exam. No, they don't ask you about every button, Faith. Basically what they do for the little pre-trip that you do before you go out for your license, they are asking you the lights work, the headlights, do the signals work, do the brake lights work, do the horns work, and I think basically that's it. Sam, do you have anything else that they check in terms of the mini pre-trip before they go out for a road test? Sometimes as well, Faith, they're going to ask you if you know your hand signals, and there is a video here on hand signals, but that's basically it. It's really a minor pre-trip inspection. They just want to know that the lights are working, the signals are working, the brake lights are working, the horn works. Yeah, they get you to beep the horn and those types of things. If it's raining, they might get you to turn the windshield wipers on to make sure that the windshield wipers work. But for the most part, that's basically it. Okay, Tiffany, what does the bus I drive in class feel bumpy after pre-trip on the road? Why does the bus I drive in class feel bumpy after pre-trip on the road? Tiffany, can you rephrase that question? I'm not sure. I'm not following what you're asking me. Sorry about that. Okay, Pizza Man, which car is more nice to drive? An auto shift or a manual gear shift? Well, those of us who drive manual transmissions, Pizza Man, are always going to tell you it's manual transmission because we just like the added control of a manual transmission. Some people are real advocates of automatic transmissions, but personally, I like a manual transmission. I've always liked a manual transmission. I just feel like I have way more control in a manual transmission. And there are lots of people who say that once they learn to drive manual transmission, they never go back. So it's really a personal preference. There is some argument about fuel economy, that a manual transmission gets better fuel economy because it's a direct drive. So once the clutch is engaged, there's direct drive between the drivetrain and the engine, whereas an automatic transmission is a hydraulic pump, and regardless of what the marketing says, it's not always what they say. I'm not convinced yet that automatic transmissions are yet able to get the fuel economy that a manual transmission is. So it's a personal thing. All right, Russ Man, what are some things that the driving instructors checks when doing behind the wheel? What are some of the things you check for and some tips that I could improve on? All right, so Russ, man, one of the things that we say as driving instructors for the purposes of preparing for a road test is that you cannot shoulder check enough, okay? Know that you have to shoulder check 2 times for every turn, every lane change, every time you move the vehicle laterally, you have to shoulder check. And it's only 90 degrees, right? It's just a quick head turn, 90 degrees, less than a second, just a quick snap of the head, because you're just basically checking with your peripheral vision. If there's actually something there, your central vision will be pulled in by your peripheral vision to do a better investigation of what might be there. All right, so just coming back to the 4 fundamentals of a road test: speed management, space management, observation, and communication. Those are the 4 things that you have to have in place. And again, if you're not taking driving lessons with a driving instructor, I really, really recommend that you go and hire a driving instructor and do a mock road test 7 to 10 days before your road test. That way they can give you all the nuances of what they expect at the driving authority for the purposes of passing your road test. So just know all of that. Tully D. I hit a person during my driving test. Yeah, unfortunately, Tully, that is considered a dangerous action when you hit somebody. And it's fortunate. Was the person hurt badly? I hope not. Oof, that sounds bad. Difference between lights and brakes. They are maybe a picture description. Oh, okay, Faith. So when they're talking about lights, when I'm talking about lights, what they're checking is they're checking the headlights. Okay, so the lights turn on. You have high beams and you have low beams, so that's the headlights. And they're checking to make sure that the parking lights are on. So your tail lights are on. Your clearance lights are on at the front of the vehicle. The ones at the front will be orange. The ones at the back will be red, okay? Then they're going to check your turn signals to make sure that your left turn signal works, and they're going to make sure that your right turn signal works. After they do that, they're going to check your brake lights. And there's in North America, there's 3 brake lights on the back of the vehicles, okay? There's the 2 brake lights on the side, which are your tail lights that become brighter. And then there's the 3rd one in the center at the back of the vehicle. So those are basically the lights that they're going to check. They're not going to check anything else, especially if it's during the day. Okay, so Sam says in the Bronx they don't actually do pre-trips there, which is interesting because they're busy. Okay, so they don't. So in New York City and in the Bronx, where Sam is teaching as a driving instructor, they're not doing pre-trip inspections down there at some of the DMVs. Probably at some of these bigger urban centers where they're busy. It's exactly what he says. As long as the car is registered, car looks good, and all tires inflators, it's good to go. Okay, but up here in British Columbia at the ICBC centers, they do a pre-trip inspection. So know that some of the licensing centers, they're going to do a pre-trip inspection. Not all of them, as Sam has indicated. Excuse me. Okay, when you drive a bus, why does it vibrate in the driver's seat? Okay, Tiffany, the driver's seat could be loose. There could be a vibration in the steering. What kind of bus are you driving, Tiffany? Are you driving a school bus, or are you driving a coach or a transit bus where you're sitting over the front steer tires? Because that could make a slight difference. Lewis. Where did Lewis go? I lost Lewis. If I am entering the acceleration lane riding onto the highway and there are multiple cars in the lane I'm supposed to merge into, what should I do if I seriously can't manage to squeeze into the lane? Lewis, you can manage to squeeze into the lane. Just keep your signal on, keep moving over, because those cars will slow down and let you in. And Lewis, the video I am working on today, which I will have up on Wednesday on Merging Mania, is for you. Because I've had this question before, and you have to move. If you're in the acceleration lane, it's going to end and you have to move over. You can't stop in that acceleration lane. You have to go. Match the traffic flow, match the speed of the traffic flow of the vehicles on the highway, put your signal on, and just start moving over. That vehicle behind you, pick your space and move into your space. That vehicle will back off. I guarantee you, okay? And the video on Wednesday, make sure you watch the video on Wednesday. I put together like 20 merging pieces of video for you to show you how to do it and see how other drivers do it when it's backed up in rush hour traffic. They do make space for you. All right. Okay. Bricks, for how steep of a downhill would justifying downshifting for a passenger vehicle? Okay, Corey, it depends. I go down over the Coquihalla here, which is pretty steep. It's 13% grade at the top of the Coquihalla. I don't shift down. it has to be pretty steep, like 18-20%, which is like hanging off the side of a cliff. So it has to be really, really steep. Callie Chris, you make the best driving videos. Oh, aren't you sweet? Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much. And all of that really inspires me to keep going and doing all the work that we can do so you guys can all be successful. And nobody has told me a driving story yet. Great driving stories. And the reason I was thinking about driving stories is because I drove 5 hours to Vancouver Island last week, and it's really great. Yes, Sam, I have a Spider-Man cup. I got kids. I got everyone. I could next week I'll pull out Frozen cup for you. Okay. Tiffany, you're driving a transit bus. Yes, okay, that's why, because you're sitting over the steer tires, Tiffany. And there's going to be some vibration in the steer tires, which is going to cause vibration through the bus and into the driver's seat. Now, it might just be that particular bus that you're driving is the reason that you have vibration through the driver's seat. It could be a bunch of things. Now, just one more question, Tiffany. I'm sorry, I keep asking you questions. Is this a transit bus for a local authority that you're working for? Or is it a school training bus? Because if it's a school training bus, it's an old bus, and they're just using it for training. It's not getting used very often. So that's another reason why you're going to have vibration through the seat. And also, it might just be at a particular speed. So say 51 kilometers an hour or 30 or 28 miles an hour. If you just get over that a little bit or just a little bit underneath that, that vibration will cease. Okay, so those might be some reasons for you. Tully D. Thank you so much, Tully D. Lewis, thank you so much. I'll be sure to watch your upcoming video. Yes, Lewis, because I kept getting that same question again and again. Not again and again, like not all the time. But one of the things that I didn't say in the video that I will say here is that merging onto a highway, I can see why it's intimidating, because it's one of those things that you're committed. Once you get on that acceleration lane, you're committed. And oftentimes, you're traveling at 100 kilometers an hour, you're traveling at 65 or 70 miles an hour, and it's intimidating because you're going really fast. And you're moving over between other vehicles, and you're committed. You got to go. So this was the reason, because there are 3 or 4 videos. Look at the merging playlist about how to merge, but it's still intimidating, right? Because you are asking other drivers to help you to merge onto the freeway. And again, it's a team event, right? So make sure you signal early, match the road speed. As long as you match the road speed of the vehicles on the highway, the traffic flow, you're going to be okay. They're going to help you to move in, okay? But signal early, get the vehicle up to speed, up to speed of the traffic flow or the posted speed limit if you're going for a road test. And I think that these 20 or 30 merges that I pulled out of my dash cam videos from the last year and a half, I have them in the wintertime in Vancouver Island, in Vancouver, the city of Vancouver, in Toronto, and here in Vernon and Kamloops and all kinds of places. So I think it's really going to help a little bit just to watch how I merge and watch other traffic, because I've just been driving up the highway and other cars have been coming onto the roadway as well. So I think that's really going to help you, Lewis. Mikey, how can I save up for a car? Bag, borrow, steal. Work hard. Work hard. Start a YouTube channel. That's how you can do it. Because it is possible. I've proved that this can be done. Despite what some of the naysayers say, you can start a YouTube channel, and some of the other people as well will also say that you can start a YouTube channel. But do anything you need to do to make money. We live in a world now where there is more and more and more opportunity to save money. And you could pick up your first car. I don't know, where do you live, Mikey, that you'd want to be getting a car, because there's lots of places you can get a car and those types of things. Okay, so okay, Ron, you want to hear my driving story? Okay, my driving story doesn't really have to do with a car. My driving story has to do with a truck. Now, when I started driving truck, my very first job was moving furniture, which wasn't very exciting. It was over the summer and wasn't that interesting. But the second job that I had driving truck was driving team, 2 drivers in a truck between Toronto and Vancouver, which is a 48-hour drive. Even in a car, it's still probably 43 hours. And it was 2 drivers in a truck. And the first truck that I got into was a Peterbilt 379, which is a beautiful, beautiful truck. Twin stacks, big long nose on it, you know, just the epitome of truck driving. I never really realized in my life that I always wanted to be a truck driver. I mean, I grew up on, you know, BJ and the Bear, Smokey and the Bandit, and all those kinds of things. I collected truck pictures and whatnot. And I mean, you just get in this truck, and I don't know whether you know the inside of Peterbilts, but Peterbilts are just like sitting in an airplane cockpit. There's a gauge and a needle and everything else just lights up in the wintertime and those types of things. So yeah, that was probably one of my better experiences of driving truck, and just driving across Montana on the interstate at 75 mile an hour and just sitting back and listening to the stereo and those types of things. And I can still get that same feeling sitting in a truck for about the first hour, but after the first hour, it's a job after that. But that's sort of my first real experience of driving a big truck and driving something lots of fun. Okay, so Tiffany, you're driving a transit bus for the city and county of San Francisco. Okay, so Tiffany, if you have a vibration in the seat, that indicates that there's probably something wrong with the alignment in the front of the bus, or perhaps in the drivetrain. The drive shaft might be out of balance or something like that. I would definitely, Tiffany, if you've got a vibration coming through the bus into the seat, take it into the maintenance shop and report that and get them to look at it, because there's probably something wrong with the bus that they can fix and get rid of that for you. So you live in New York City. Awesome, Mikey. Okay, so yeah, so start working now. Basically, you need to break it down, Mikey, in terms of buying a car. So say next year you've got a 15-month plan. Okay, so you got a 15-month plan. You want to save $100 a month. That's $1,500. You should be able to pick up a car for $1,500 to $2,000. So let's say $2,000, because you got to have some money, you know, to buy some kit for the car. You know, you got to get some fuzzy dice for the mirror and those types of things, and you got to buy insurance, unfortunately. And you know, insurance is expensive, and you got to put fuel in it, because if you don't put fuel in it, they don't go anywhere. So $100 a month, $25 a week. How do you make $25 a week? You break it down like that. How do I make $25 a week? And that's what you do, and that's how you save for your car. Okay. Sam. Okay. The tickets they usually give, they were giving the good tickets, lottery tickets for good deeds. I remember my CB days. Breaker 19, Breaker 19. Yes. That's funny. CBs. Yeah, now we have cell phones, which have more or less replaced CBs. They don't really have CBs anymore. Okay, Faith. This park, when you back up right, then you straighten the wheel, or 2 turns, then you go back to turn it to the left to the curb. But I'm not getting further into the box. So what are you doing, Faith? Are you running into the curb when you're trying to parallel park? Is that what's happening? Is that you're too close to the curb? Let me know that if you're too close to the curb. Sean. Right-hand vehicles need to be older than 25 years old to be legal to drive in the USA. Or need to be newer. Okay. Right-hand drive vehicles. Okay, Sean. I disagree with right-hand vehicles in North America. Okay? Our entire road system is set up for drivers sitting on the left side of the vehicle. ICBC here, the Insurance Corporation of British Columbia, which is the driving authority here in the province of British Columbia, has done a study 2 years ago. It was longer than 2 years ago. It was 5 years ago now. And they showed and they proved that right-hand drive vehicles in North America are 40% more likely to be involved in a crash. So I am 100% opposed to right-hand drive vehicles in North America. I just simply disagree with them. When I lived in Australia in the early 2000s, any left-hand drive vehicle automatically had to be converted. They just simply would not let drivers drive them on the road. So that's my opinion about it, that they should be made to convert them over. I just don't think they should be allowed here because they're unsafe. I have a hard enough time with drivers, period, because traffic crashes are dangerous. Traffic is dangerous, and there's a lot of traffic crashes. So, yeah, okay. So I don't agree with them here in North America. Okay, Eric. Questions about stop signs. I couldn't find any information on my driving course. Do we do a secondary stop or stop after the stop sign? No, Eric. Once you stop at the correct stopping position at a stop sign intersection, so there's 3 stopping positions at a stop sign intersection: before the stop line, before the crosswalk lines, If there isn't crosswalk lines, but there's a sidewalk before the sidewalk, and if there isn't a stop line, crosswalk, or sidewalk, then where the two roads meet. And if after you stop at the correct position, if you can't see the intersection, then you creep forward, excuse me, and treat it as a yield. So that's what you do. You don't treat it as another stop. It's just simply treated as a yield after you've come to a complete stop at the correct position. Ron, yes, thank you so much. Yes, truck and bus drivers, they work hard. Absolutely, Ron. Thank you so much, and God bless you as well. Yes, they do work hard, and there's some information here. And actually, I'm going to do an update, a supplemental to the autonomous vehicle video that I did, because one of my smart drivers sent me an article on the pundits, for lack of a better word is what we'll call them, saying that autonomous trucks will be on the roads within 3 or 4 years, which I absolutely don't agree with. They're not autonomous at all, because they have to have a driver in them, because they're unable to deal with particular situations and those types of things. So, yes, bus and truck drivers, they work hard and deserve some respect. Yes, and hello to Tim, my dear friend, my dear friend Tim. Basic Joomla Tutorials. If anybody needs a website built for them, talk to my friend Tim here, Basic Joomla Tutorials. And he's making fun of my Honda, which is, why should he ride in my Honda? Yes, and Corey has put up the video on stop sign stopping positions. You are most welcome, Eric. 1987. I live in 97 Pete Sleeper. I don't drive it. No CDL. My boss is a 97 Pete C12 and a Day 86. Yes, Peterbilt's one of my favorite trucks. Definitely like Peterbilt's. A little interesting to get used to, because the clutch pedal, the shaft for the clutch pedal goes down through the floor as opposed to up on the firewall as it does on most other trucks, Kenworths and Internationals and those types of things. So it's a little odd to get used to the clutch on a Peterbilt, but still a great truck. So we are nearing the hour here, and if anybody else has questions, by all means, I'll try and answer those. I'll also be around for a few minutes after the hour is up. I usually like to try and keep this to an hour for people. We've had lots of great questions tonight. Really great session as usual. That's a great question, Zimmy. I wanted to buy a car. Are auto transmission vehicles lame and slow? Don't hold back about how you feel. You know, if you were used to buy a 4-cylinder in the old days, then yes, they were. But now 4-cylinders are pretty peppy. However, my personal experience is that I really like a manual transmission. And my 20-year-old 4-cylinder 2-liter Honda CR-V is really great. So, yeah, okay. I would recommend a manual transmission. Angie, yes, I probably did miss your question, and I'm sorry about that. I'll have a look for it here. Let's see. Okay, Angie. Maybe you might have to type it again for me, Angie, so I can find it. There we go. If I get to a stop sign... Oh, okay. Okay, if I get to a stop sign first and the other driver opposite me finding an opening to join the road, do they have to wait for me or can they go? Okay, is the other driver proceeding straight, Angie, or are they turning right? Is it the opposite aggressor? Okay, the stop sign rules always apply, okay, for the purposes of turning at an intersection. So, straight through vehicles have the right of way over turning vehicles, and if it's a four-way stop, the first person to arrive has the right of way and has to give way. And remember that the right of way is always given, it's not taken. So if the other person is adamant about the fact that they're going to go, just let them go and then proceed after them. That's the best way to handle that. As well, Angie, have a look at the stop sign videos here on the channel, and those may give you the information that you're looking for in order to be able to handle that. Okay? Okay. Last question here. No, Corey, I haven't seen that. Okay, Tiffany, my friend wanted to know what is a modulating control valve. A modulating control valve, Angie, is simply a valve that controls airflow. And usually the modulating control valve is attached to the springs. It's usually on older or spring brakes, or the spring on the brakes that applies the parking brakes, and it will apply the parking brakes in a similar manner to service brakes. But those are generally only found on older systems. They're not on newer systems and those types of things, okay? So that's what a modulating control valve is. Okay, Faith. Where did Faith go? Drivers get new cars with auto backup instead of an older affordable car. Just get an add-on backup camera. Faith, I just recommend it if you get an older car and that's what's within your budget, then you can just put a backup camera into it. It's really quite easy. Actually, I had a friend here who just bought a 2014 Dodge pickup truck, and he had a new stereo put in with a backup camera. I don't think it cost him very much, a couple $100. So... Sean, you're not a disgrace to your family because your dad is a car dealer. That's simply not true at all, because there is a very different set of skills that are required to pass a road test as opposed to being a good driver. And I suspect that you're going to be a great driver, Sean. Do not take the road test as a benchmark of your ability to drive, okay? Because passing a road test requires a different skill set than being able to drive well. So that's simply not true, okay? You're probably a really good driver, okay? Yes, and if there's Sam, if you want to get your license in the Bronx, there's a couple of people here from New York City, Auto Rookie Driving School. They're really good, okay? And there's where they are. The school is at the corner of Castle Hill and Westchester, and check out the reviews on Google and Instagram. Lots of stuff on Instagram from them, okay? And if you have any other questions, by all means, drop me a comment. Send me an email, rick@smartdrivetest.com. For those of you going for your road test first time, the course is available over at the website. Pass your road test first time guaranteed. Otherwise, I'll give you your money back within 60 days if you don't pass your road test first time. And if you type in the coupon YouTube 30 into the coupon box, you'll pick up the course for about $20. So that's available as well. And for everybody that's passed road tests in the last week, congratulations. That's really, really awesome. Thank you for letting me know. Thank you for all of the compliments and comments. It just really makes the channel awesome. And if you have a road test coming up this week, good luck on your road test. And remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Have a great night. Bye now.